Hello, welcome back to another episode on Red Foxy. If you like what you see, please like, subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on new content.
Recently, my wife discovered that my friend's wife had been having an affair with another man. At a concert I went to 5 years ago, soon after being divorced, I met this woman for the first time. She was a few years younger than me, but we hit it off immediately, and she ended up accompanying me and some of my friends to a bar once the show was over. We all had a good time, and in the end, we swapped contact information. At that time, I didn't really use any social media except Facebook, and even then, it was only for the purpose of keeping up with my children's school and extracurricular activities. Therefore, instead of becoming Facebook friends, we merely text one another. At first, the texts were sent in a light-hearted manner. A bit playful on occasion, but nothing that would lead one to believe there was any desire in anything sexual. It turned out that she lived only 20 minutes away from me, but we never managed to cross paths or make contact with one another. After exchanging a few texts with one another over the course of a few weeks, we finally realized that we were going to be at the same concert again, albeit in a different location. For me, it was a guy's weekend, and for her, it was a girl's weekend. Therefore, prior to the show, she and her pals came up to meet up with me and my friends. We went out to several different bars together. She and her pals were significantly younger than me and my friends, and I was the only one of my friends who was still unmarried at the time. My companions and I saw that none of these ladies was wearing engagement rings or wedding bands. As a result, we reasoned that none of them was married. They were all younger than us, and outside being buddies, there didn't appear to be anything else that interested them. That didn't bother me in the least because I wasn't looking for a serious commitment anyhow at that point. Following our visits to a few other pubs, we made our way to the event. While she and her pals sat on the floor, I and my companions were seated on the balcony. I believe that was the last thing that happened for the night. Following the show, my buddies and I went to a pub before heading back to our respective rooms. Almost as soon as I entered my room, a woman sent me a text message asking if I was interested in joining her for some further drinks. Since she was in a location that was convenient to my hotel, I did not hesitate to say yes. When I walked back out, I thought I would see her along with her buddies, but when I got there, it was just her. When we started making our way back to my hotel, I hadn't even finished my drink, if that gives you any indication. It was simply incredible. After we returned back to our old neighborhood, she made it a habit to stop by my house during the day. Because of the nature of my employment, I am able to spend most of my time working from home. Because of the nature of her work, which requires her to move about the region, she was able to stop by during the day. She would arrive at my house after my children had left for school and leave before they returned home. On some days, she stayed at my house for a significant portion of the time that my children were away at school. She was present even though it wasn't my turn to spend time with the children at that period of time. Never at night and never during the weekends. It was nothing more than an FWB kind of arrangement. That suited me down to the ground. Because I was actively involved with my children, I even coached 2 of their teams. This endeavor did not intrude on the time I spent with either them or my friends. In addition, I wasn't searching for a relationship, and I certainly didn't want to become involved with someone so young who could be interested in having children. I'm done having babies. I was honest with her about how I was feeling, and she seemed to have no problem with it. She stated that she was not interested in pursuing a romantic connection either. This continued on for far over 100 days. After some time, I found the person who would become my wife, and I ended the relationship with her. She had no problem with that at all. We will not continue to text one another. 1 year after the first time we met, my wife and I decided to be married. I ran and saw this woman again at a party in our neighborhood around 2 years ago. My wife and I have put in contact with her and her husband thanks to a mutual acquaintance of ours. They had just lately purchased the house that was located directly next to his. When we initially encountered one another, there was nothing uneasy or uncomfortable about the situation. We merely smiled and said hey. When we came back to our house that night, I informed my wife about our history. My wife is incredibly kind, and she and I are both okay with the fact that we have each been in previous relationships. No huge deal. It turns out that her husband is a fairly good person, and he starts hanging out with my circle of guy friends, which ultimately leads to us being friends with each other. This season, he became a member of one of the fantasy football leagues that I run. Now we are buddies on Facebook. After I became his acquaintance, he went on to become friends with my wife. My wife looks at his profile, and then she asks me how long it's been since I've had FWB with his wife. It had been 5 years since then. She pulls up a recent post on her phone and gives it to me. In it, it says that he and his wife have been married for 8 years. Lol, if this story were written by a woman there would be 15 posts demanding she tells AP's spouse because they would want to know. Op did nothing wrong in terms of his actions, if his story didn't omit anything like wondering why it was only at his house even though he has kids. Most people don't start up a casual FWB by asking, do you swear you are single and we are not cheating anyone? This is one of those things that if it's floating around a newly formed close-knit group of friends it will probably come out sooner or later. If it were me I think I would probably jump that girl's ass in private and ask her exactly what the fuck the deal was back then and take what I was going to do about it from there. It could be she was fucking around on her husband or there could be a legit explanation. I think I'd clear that air first and proceed with whatever information I got from that. If her explanation sounds innocently shady I'd probably ask her if it was okay if I talked to her husband about it just to make sure she wasn't screwing around. If this dude is your friend has probably going to get a little pissy finding out you were screwing his wife, knowingly or not, 3 years into their marriage and you knew all this information and never said anything. I'd respect a guy for explaining the situation and having enough respect to come to me with it. I'd be mad as fuck if I found out my buddy did and knew all that and never said a word, just let me play along like a freaking chump. Story 2. Boyfriend slept with mom. Just recently, I learned that my boyfriend and my mother slept together shortly after I gave birth to my child. While he was here visiting me, he was required to return home, but I remained with my newborn child. After waiting for half an hour, I called both of them multiple times, but they did not respond to any of my inquiries. His house is only 20 minutes away from mine. When I was finally able to get in touch with them, they informed me that they were in the midst of an emotional conversation about how much my boyfriend loved me and my daughter. After 5 months, I discovered that they had been fucking. After that, they continued to call each other their best friends. I really have no idea what to do in this situation. Please provide a hand. Sorry, but your mom's a freaking a hole. Moms are supposed to have their kids' backs no matter what. Not fucking their boyfriend. Personally, I'd cut them both out of my life and move on. With people like them in your life, who needs enemies? I'm a mom of a 28 years old and 19 girls. This is so inappropriate. I would like to slap your mom. I'm sorry love, 2 hearts. If you need to talk, I'm here for you. Love a mom, blue heart. Sorry. Go no contact with mom. He is no longer your boyfriend. Ho has no contact with him and is now co-parenting. Get a lawyer for custody and CS if you want or work out an agreement. I would get a lawyer because of its toxic nature. Control the narrative but don't look crazy in the court's eyes. Dignity counts here, especially in the court or other official public places. It will be hard to not scream and shout, I'd want it for utter certainty, but calm and stone-faced wins out here every single time. Get a punch bag and some boxing lessons and beat all that energy out safely then move on. Limited time here and the most important person in this is your tiny new life who will love you, and you can set that path right now. Good luck and I feel your pain there.